Alrighty. Is your thinking flawed? Is your thinking flawed? What do I mean by that? Well, when is the best time to do something great? When is the best time to actually pursue courage? All right. So, in this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually explain, right? I'm going to explain a few different things, but ultimately, what I'm going to explain is when the best time to start is. To start, whether it be lose weight, whether it be follow your purpose, the best time to book a holiday, when's the best time to grow up? So I'm going to explain that, but in fact, because most people, what they go off, and when I say is your thinking flawed, what I mean by that is, hey, listen, I'm gonna start this amazing adventure once I get all the facts, once I get all my ducks lined up. I'm going to start this new business when I feel ready. That is flawed thinking. And I'm going to explain to you why and how, So it's like, because if you're waiting, it's like I've even heard people say, me, I had a gym for years, okay? 16 years I had gyms for. And the amount of people that said to me, I'm going to do your program, Gav, your Fight Like a Pro experience, I'm going to do your Fight Like a Pro program when I get fit enough. That's flawed thinking. I'm going to get fit enough to then go to the gym. Like, it's insane. Leave me a comment if you've thought that. We want to articulate, is your thinking flawed? Okay, so it's like, if that's your thinking, this is what that looks like. All right, we've got men watching from all over the world, okay, and women as well, and children and teenagers. Anyway, so it's like, imagine if you live in Melbourne and you're going to go to Sydney. All right, it's like saying, hey, you're outside the front of your house. I'm going to start my car and get in it and drive there when I can see every curve, every bridge, every dangerous point, every intersection. When you can see the whole way, there's no way in the world you can make a transition from one city to another and know exactly where to go, know exactly the danger points, know exactly the turns. And that's what it's like when you pursue your mission, your purpose. If you wait until you're ready, if you wait until you feel ready, if you wait, because the whole idea is when you go on an adventure, when your life is an adventure, you're actually not going to be able to know what all the facts are. You don't know what you actually have to do when you start. And I'm telling you, that is flawed thinking. Thinking you have to have all your ducks lined up to start. Okay, so the best time to start, when is it? Leave in the comments what you think it is, when the best time to start is. Okay, because most people are looking at having all their ducks lined up, but I got to tell you, if you do that, you will never start. You will actually never start. But I would say a better question we need to ask ourselves is, what is it? Who is it? What is it I need to develop in me? Because I think most of the time it's courage, it's faith. It starts with those two things. How you understand this is where I want to go, but then it's like, hang on, what needs to be developed in me? Okay, what is it? Where am I lacking faith? Where am I lacking courage? I think that's a better, but when you this is what you do. When's the best time to start? Well, you start before you're ready. If you're writing anything down, that's the thing. You start before you're ready. That's when you start. Okay, when's the best time to start? Way, way, way before you're ready. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, I'm going to prove it to you because it's like you guys that maybe have children. You know, if you're waiting until you're ready, this is what happens. You have a child. All right, I've got 7. It's happened a few times, but particularly the first one. You never forget it. I've had a couple of firsts in my life. Having kids is one of them, right? You get that baby and you go, you learn very quickly you've got no idea what to do. You've got no idea what, we always laugh. My wife and I, we laugh. We remember that first time when we drove home from the hospital. I'm doing about 30 kilometers an hour. She's sitting in the back you learn very quickly. I don't break that easy. But you realize you got no idea what you're doing. That's just one example, I reckon. But you learn on the job. Hey, leave me a comment. Let me know when you're having kids, you learned on the job. Oh, goodness me. I can tell you some stories, a whole lot of stories I can tell about those. From the first one to the last one, the 7th one gets away with everything. Anyway, every kid has a different childhood because they've got different parents. Meaning, like, I was a different parent at the second child. I was a different parent the third, fourth, fifth, down like that. Do whatever you want. You're going to be fine. I think it's all like boxing, okay? Because, even when I go back to having children, who do I need to become? I need to step up as a dad because that was the thing that really stood out to me. I've got to lift my game here. I've got to lift my game. That was like the best motivation ever, And I remember when I had my first fight as an amateur, as a teenager, and I remember because I haven't that boxing program fight like a pro over the years, the amount of blokes that said, I'm not ready to start. I'm not ready. I've got to get better. I've got to get fitter. Nobody is actually ready for their first fight. You become ready after you have that fight. Literally 5-10 minutes later, after the first fight is over, that's when I know what to do now. That's when you learn on the job. As a dad, as a fighter, you get ready. By doing it, that tunes you up. All the things that you need to know, you learn in that first round. All the things you need to know, you learn those things in the first round. I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have done that. But you get what I'm saying. You talk to any fighter, they generally won't remember the 10th fight, the 20th fight, but they always remember the first one. It's a bit like businesses that I've started. Really, all the businesses that I've started, I've never been ready. I've never had all my ducks lined up. I've never understood what I've even had to do, let alone who to become. I could tell you some stories, like literally the different businesses I've had. I remember that bricklaying business. I got an opportunity, but I was a little bit smarter then. I employed a couple of bricklayers. I did a half an apprenticeship. I just knew enough. I knew enough, but it was through employing people. I got them to teach me. They taught me how to do it. And I wouldn't even say, but you know what I developed? Particularly around that first fight, okay, I'd actually developed the courage. That's because it's like I'll start when I'm ready. I developed courage through taking action. When I started that bricklaying business, as a result of boxing, by the way, I got opportunities that would never have come to me any other way. What I learned through a bricklaying business? I learned to communicate better. I learned to motivate bricklayers. I learned to motivate brickies labourers. I can remember many times blokes saying to me, Gav, I have never laid this many bricks in my life. I'll be telling stories. I'll be motivating. I'll be yelling. I'll be running. Man, the guy's just laying brick, laying brick, laying brick. I learned to be a motivator at Smoko. So I remember it was like when so you would never have picked that. I would never have picked that in a million years because you've got a mission, a purpose inside of you. And if you're waiting to start it, you're actually prolonging your future. You're actually prolonging the development of your character. That's actually what you're doing by procrastinating, by waiting till you got all the facts, waiting till you got all the ducks lined up, wait until you're ready, wait till you feel ready, which is even worse. All right. I remember when I started that boxing program in 2009 for men that had never had a fight. All right. So many people looked at me like weird. What, you're gonna put these guys on who have never had a fight in front of in the best stadiums, in the casino, in the convention centre, in the best RSLs on the Gold Coast, and they've never had a fight, and you're going to invite all these people? Like, that's insane. But you know what? Because that date was set, I did it. The men did it. All those courage skills that I learned, all those things that I learned through that rite of passages that I did, who got me to be an Australian champion myself. But I was able to pass all those things on through developing that courage, through developing that motivation. By being in tight spots where I had to motivate myself, where I was in tight spots, cornermen, coaches had to motivate me. That's how I learned about those things. So when I started that boxing program, that had never been done. Never been done in me, never been done in those men, never been done in that type of, the way that I did it. Man, it was an adventure. If I had waited till I was ready, I would never have started. Those men that participated over a 10-year period, because there was men who did that. They talked themselves out of it. And there was men that were going to do it and then didn't do it, that started it and talked themselves out of it. The men who did the best, they mustered that courage up. They trusted in the process. There's a process that is being laid out in front of you right now, okay? Not by me, but by the one who sent you, the one who made you. God has a purpose for your life. So every time you talk yourself out of taking action, you're actually going against the purpose that is designed for you. Let that land, goodness me. Far out. So I remember, this is going to make you laugh. Well, it makes me laugh every time I think about it. So when I grew up, dyslexia, I had all those things that all the diagnoses that everyone runs around with today. Right? I remember, I was like 5 years of age when I went to my first shrink. They thought I had problems. I knew I had problems. I just worked around it. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. But I wrote my first book when I was illiterate. I'm learning how to read the last few years with all this technology that's around. Our classes have been around a lot longer than that, but I've picked them up a few years ago. That's helped massively. Anyway, I wrote my first book when I was illiterate. In fact, I just blurted it out and somebody wrote, my wife wrote it, was scribbling down for me and then, corrected the spelling, etc. That was in 2017 because I needed something to give men. That was my motivation. I needed something to give men. I needed something to help people. So many people say, bring it to Melbourne, bring it to Sydney. But the truth is, I was using the boxing program to get to a man's heart, to actually get his attention was what I was doing. So gentlemen, you start before you're ready. Whatever the dreams are in you, you start before you're ready. You don't wait till you're ready. Imagine if I had have waited. I've had so many marriages get back together as a result of what we're doing. I've had so many men come back to their faith. Listen to me, this week, I'm talking real time here. I've had men in Australia, in the UK, like we've had in New Zealand, do our Become a Better Man challenge, right? Our 5-day challenge. I made it 4 days this time. Anyway, they've done the challenge this week. Men have said to me, man, I haven't felt like this in years. I've got my mojo back. I'm coming back to my faith. Goodness me, imagine. And they started with a book, that book that I wrote years ago. Goodness me, jeepers, man. You start before you're ready. So there's so many people that are going to be held back because you don't take action on the thing you're meant to be doing. All right. You know, I mean, let that land. There's going to be, imagine if I stop. Imagine, just think, lives are going to be lost because you don't go all in. Your kids are not going to be raised properly because you don't step up. Let that land, gentlemen. Come on. All right. I remember, man, I'm talking about starting before you're ready. I remember that first book, it was not until 2019 where we stopped and we put it online. I stopped the way I was doing it. I thought I've got to reach more men. I put that online and all of a sudden men started buying it all around Australia. I thought, my goodness me. Men started buying it at 3 a.m. in the morning. Most of those books were going at early hours of the morning, would you believe? Because man, I'm like, I thought there was a problem with, I don't know, with the technology. I mean, I at that point in my life, I had never done an email. Can you imagine running an online business and you've never done an email? Talk about starting before you're ready, okay? But it was like men were laying awake. They could get on, they could get the ebook straight away. I thought, man, this is a dream come true. You know, I took action before I was ready, gentlemen, you know. And of course, I remember men, and I've said this before, men would email. So I'll get somebody to read it for me. You got to laugh, huh? You know, and they're saying, what do I do next? I've read the book. So I remember thinking, I told them, read it again, and then enough of that, you know, like I'll work out what to do. So I went down, set up, boom, camera, made 4 videos. The next thing, this is what you do. It was called the what did we call it? The reset. I don't know, I forget. It was a few years back. So read that. Then they go through that. Then email me back. I've done that. Now what do I do? Oh, so then I did the next thing, gentlemen. I filmed the 10 weeks without the boxing. And of course, the same as that. Then we turned that into the Man Alive Experience, the 12-month program. Like, gentlemen, you start before you're ready. I've created, in the last 12 months, I've created the Become a Better Man challenge, the 5-day challenge. Created that. Imagine if I had waited. You never know. You can only join the dots looking back. But when you have the courage, remember, so through that first fight, I found out courage. I found out how to develop courage. Through that through that bricklaying business, I found out that I could motivate people. Okay? Hey, give me a thumbs up if you feel a little motivated today. All right? Through that boxing program, it come out of me. Through, I needed to help men. I needed to help people. Men will reach out. I wrote that book. I created that. There was all these things I've started before. But I tell you what I did. This is what happened through that boxing program. I really honed in on what was really important to me, what I was doing this for. And it was because that was a dream in me. There was a dream in me. I wanted to create something, okay? I wanted to create something that men could really attach themselves to. I had a dream. I mean, if you want to hear my dream, give me a yes, Gav. I want to hear your dream. All right, give me a yeah, Gav. Give me your dream. There's 8 things that I used to talk about. I got a thumbs up there. That's all I need. I only need 1 yes. I'm going to give it to you. And I get up on stage, and this is what I developed. Okay, before I was ready. If that is landing, if you're going to start whatever's in your heart before you're ready, give me a yep, Gav, that's me, all right? Because I used to get up and do this before I knew how to do it. My name's Gavin Lance-Top. I have a dream that every male would know there is a masculine journey to be taken, that every man would pass the test of manhood so he would know that he is enough, that every wife would feel the unconditional love of a husband, that every daughter would know what a real man looks like, and that every child would feel the love of a father. My dream is that every male would know that every man would live a life of adventure that would inspire those around him, that every man would have the courage to fight for what is right and what is just, that every man would know his purpose is to raise other men up. That's my dream for you on YouTube, on Instagram. That's my dream for everyone listening, for the people you know, goodness me, for your city, for your state, wherever you're listening from your country. That's my dream, okay? So that's what that boxing program did. It refined me. It was hard. It was hard. I could, if I told you about a couple of the hard times that I had through that, I will end up in tears. I'm not going there today. Like, it was hard, but that's what it did. Hardship actually refines a man. If you're looking for the easy, softer way, if you're looking to start your dream when you feel ready, if you're looking to wait, you're going to start when you have the right enough time, enough money, enough resources, the right people. If you're going to wait for those things, you will miss out massively on the refining of your character. You'll miss out on developing courage. You'll miss out on developing your dream. You'll miss out on refining your mission, because when I got really honed in on that, there is nothing else for me. There's nothing else for me to do. That's all I want to do apart from raising my 7 children, loving my wife, loving my friends. I'm being born for a mission. This is it. So that's my poke in the chest for you guys. Step up, develop it. So, but what that did, when I went online, I realized, man, like today, we're on mission, okay? We've got men in New Zealand all the way to Alaska and everywhere in between that we are serving and helping. Come on. If you're inspired by that, give me a yes, Gav. That's something. I started it before I could read. I became an author before I read. I took that first fight before I could fight. I started that business before I knew what to do. So yeah, it's a bit even like this where I am now in the Mediterranean. we I laugh, man. I laugh. My poor wife and kids. I said to my wife, I said, man, life's an epic adventure or it's not. What are you choosing here, love? She's like, do I have a choice? Well, funny enough, you don't. You do, but you don't. You can choose to enjoy it. That's the choice. But I remember, I'm having a laugh here. So I remember when we decided, I talked to my wife, we made a decision, all right, we're going to go on this epic adventure, we're going to move overseas, So, and maybe you've heard me say this before, it's coming up a couple of years now, the end of 23. I remember halfway through 23, we made a decision, and then so, all right, we picked the date, this is when we're leaving. Everything, and a lot of people tried to prevent us from leaving on the date we said. Like I'm even my mind that man, every paradigm, everything, you're not ready, you got to get this, you got to do that. And I'm telling you, it come down to the wire. But it was because I made a decision. It was because I've been doing all these other things. I was ready. I was ready to, when I say ready, you start before you're ready. I was ready to be okay with not being ready. I was ready to take action. I remember when we announced to the kids, and then the next day my wife goes, what exactly do we need to do? And I said, my famous saying in my house is, grab a pad and pen. Let's work out what we need to do. Of course, pad and pen, all right, so we wrote a list that we knew of. We didn't know everything we needed to do. Even when we got here, we realized there were so many things we didn't know. We should have done beforehand, but we got here. But as soon as we get through the list, we realize, there's more to the list. There's more to the list. Man, And I tell you, it come down to the wire. Like there's so many things we had to shift, and particularly even the last 5 days. I remember my car. We had 5 cars with the kids. We had to sell, and I remember, and all so much stuff because I said to the kids, "You get one bag. That's it. Whatever doesn't fit in, you either give away or you sell or whatever. It ain't coming. All right." The family home is being rented out, needs to be empty. So, so what happened was 5 days before, I've still got these 2 luxury Land Rovers to sell. I was like, oh, how the heck? And I've had them to sell for a while. Anyway, 5 days before, bloke turned up, give me the money, gone. Great. Michelle, my wife's car, Michelle, we're leaving Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. It was 2:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday. The most unlikely person turned up and had the money. That was what made it most. I thought, this person surely does not have this amount of money. Transferred the money. Thank goodness for technology. It come down to the wire. And that's what happens. Even a week before, 2 weeks before, Michelle goes to me, should we push it back a week? And I was even thinking maybe we should. Should we push it back a fortnight? No, I'm so glad we didn't. So you get what I'm saying. I'm hoping this is motivating you to take action, because this is what I've learned coming here, which I've been speaking, writing about, preaching about for years, about legacy. There's a legacy inside every man. There's a legacy inside every woman. There's a legacy inside every person. What we're actually creating is a massive legacy. Being able to go on an epic adventure. Our kids have gone to another level in every area. And that next level, it goes left, it goes right, it goes left. We're on this massive adventure together. Man, I feel like it's almost coming. Like I feel like I need to write all this down. There's been so many learnings. Who would like to hear about this last nearly 2 years of living in a foreign country? The kids going to, learning 2 languages at once. Oh man, it's just been the foods. Who would like to hear about that? It's massive. It almost feels like it needs a series. Goodness. Could be a Netflix series for sure. So, all right, I'm getting to the end here. This is what I've learned through starting things before I'm ready, okay? Because I think this is what you actually need to focus on, rather than focus on having all the facts, having all the details, having everything in order to start. This is what you learn by starting before you're ready, okay? First thing is you learn what you don't know. All right. Oh, goodness me. I remember we come over here. I don't want to digress here. I realized the visa's run out. We got, oh my God, there was all sorts of dramas. The visa, we're going through all the digital nomad. They told us we had it. We paid the money. Then they said, you don't have it now. So they've been hoodwinked. Anyway, there's a whole heap. That's literally an whole other thing. Anyway, but you learn courage. You learn how to work things out. You learn how to teach your kids how to work things out. You learn courage. You learn to motivate yourself when it's hard. You learn to motivate I'm talking to the men and the women, the wives and others. You learn to motivate each other, to keep each other on track, another level. Your faith goes to another level. I'm telling you, being here without my church, I've actually had a spiritual awakening without the support of my church. I mean, I watch the church online, but I've had a spiritual awakening. I would never have picked that in a million years, You define your dream. You get crystal clear on your mission. But overall when you start before you're ready, your identity shifts. How you see yourself shifts. One of the greatest things, and what I really focused on the first few months of what I really realized is when shifting to a small island where nobody knows me, where I have no reputation, I don't know the language, all the material possessions are gone. They're gone. I live in a stone house. There's so many things when you remove that stuff. your identity shifts. Who the heck is Gavin Lance Top? Hey, let's find out. And that's what we've been doing. So, hey, listen, I think that's enough. I could keep going, but I think that's enough. Leave me a comment if you've enjoyed that. Leave me a comment if you'd love to hear about the whole. Hey, I think I've started something here. Let's start this Netflix series on this epic adventure. So, hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it didn't carry on too much, and I didn't get that. I could have carried on more, but I'm not. All right. Hey, I can't wait to any questions. Leave in the comment. Ciao. Over and out.